Good afternoon. This is NTV at 1 with me, Smriti, Vidyarthi. Thanks very much for making time with us. To our top story, churches could soon be allowed to open after a team tasked with compiling a report on the reopening of places of worship across the country had its first sitting. The Interfaith Council, comprising of religious leaders from all faiths, is expected to come up with a report on how the places of worship can once again open their doors to the public. The inaugural meeting was officiated by Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and his health counterpart Mutahi Kagwe.
Today, after the inauguration, we are going to have the sessions now to continue, and the CSs have given us the advice as to the issues that we should take as reference points. Special above them is obviously the safety of our Kenyans in this time of COVID.
We now want to work with our religious leaders to see how else we can manage the situation that we are in the country. I think it's always wise not to say so much now at the beginning, because the work is beginning. I do not want to spend so much time and waste a lot of these wonderful people's time. Now they have started their work. We will meet again probably about 2 to 3 weeks time. Then they will give us the interim thoughts and see how we will work on them.
The Senate committee investigating the grounds for impeaching Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru has pleaded impartiality in their dealing with the matter, as its members battle the tag of having a predetermined outcome. Speaking after holding its first meeting that involved drawing up a timetable and electing the chairperson and deputy, members said they would not yield to external forces. The committee says it is alive to perceptions that they would not do anything other than save Waiguru, but insist they will focus on the merits and demerits of the case. The committee also says it will complete its assignment by the 26th of June. The committee has elected Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala as its chairperson and KANU-nominated Senator Abshiro Halake as the vice chair.
This committee has membership which is competent, has membership whose integrity cannot be questioned, and we want to assure Kenyans that we are going to conduct this exercise with all fairness. We're going to be impartial. We're going to allow the disputants to come and make their submissions in a fair way, and whatever resolution that this committee will come with will be free and fair.
As a member of ODM, and you know how senior I am in that party as chairperson of election board, I can confirm that I have not even spoken to Baba for the last several weeks. And I can assure you that he knows that he has a team that is able to work, that is able to make judgment without necessarily having to be called by him as to how we can discharge justice to this republic. So I condemn those that are saying that we have instruction.
Itakuwa ni makosa sana kwa mtu kusema ya kwamba sisi tutakuwa kama muosho mmoja. Hiyo mimi nataka kusema na ikanusha kabisa ya kwamba hakuna kitu kama hicho. Sisi sote ni watu na heshima zetu, na nina hakika ya kwamba ukweli wa kina utajulikana wakati tukitoa uamuzi.
There is no place that the people of Kirinyaga sat and agreed that this is the position of Kirinyaga people. And those demonstrating are politicians, perhaps opposed to some situations. This committee is not going to be intimidated in any way. We are going to work independently. We are going to do independent investigations so that we can give justice to Kenyans.
Elsewhere, Kenya has made its final rallying call ahead of the United Nations Security Council vote today. President Kenyatta addressed a private gathering of countries that he hopes will support the Kenyan candidature. Kenya is in a bitter competition with East African neighbor Djibouti.
A last-minute pitch by the Kenyan delegation to capture the United Nations Security Council seat was in session Tuesday ahead of the vote this Wednesday. President Uhuru Kenyatta led the final push for support.
A vote for Kenya is a vote for peace. A vote for Kenya is a vote for global solidarity.
On Wednesday, Kenya will be coming up against Djibouti, who has put up a strong campaign, even after the African Union twice endorsed Kenya as the choice for the seat between 2021 and 2022. The UN General Assembly will elect 5 new members to the Security Council.
A vote for Kenya is that even the smallest voice shall be heard as the largest and most powerful voice.
Kenya boasts of support from the African Union, but Djibouti argues that it should have the seat due to Nairobi's past participation on the Security Council and the principle of rotation. French-speaking Djibouti and English-speaking Kenya are both highlighting their roles in seeking peace on the Horn of Africa, as well as their contributions to the UN peacekeeping options.
I want this opportunity to thank the African Union for the endorsement of Kenya's candidature to the Security Council for the year 2021-2022 and our pursuit for solutions to global challenges convinces us that we are well placed to contribute constructively in the Security Council.
Kenya has pointed out its hosting of refugees from Somalia and South Sudan, as well as its support to the two countries' fragile governments.
We have over the years contributed more than 40,000 peacekeepers and engaged in post-conflict reconstruction and development efforts across the world. We therefore hope that our experience, our competencies, and unrelenting search for peace and prosperity in our neighborhood, on our continent, and the wider world will persuade the entire UN membership to support the African Union candidate for the non-permanent seat.
Djibouti, in turn, notes its strategic location and unusual role as a defense base for diverse countries, France, the United States, China and Japan, as well as its contributions in Somalia. Fearing fraud or manipulation, the General Assembly will not vote electronically, even though the United Nations is mostly operating virtually until the end of July due to the coronavirus pandemic. Instead, each of the 193 delegations will have a chance to cast a secret ballot at a designated time, scattered throughout the day in the famous Assembly Hall. Each new Security Council member needs to win 2/3 of the votes cast, meaning 128 votes if all 193 nations vote. Delegates could have to vote multiple times to certify a winner. The Security Council has 10 non-permanent members, in addition to the veto-wielding Big Five: Britain, China, France, Russia and the United States. Leila Mohammed, NTV.
All right, we will be bringing you the outcome of that vote during our 9 p.m. broadcast, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, almost 4,000 girls are reported to have been impregnated in Machakos County in the last 5 months alone, according to a new Kenya Health Information System survey. The alarming figure translates to more than 28 girls on average becoming pregnant daily in the county. The data indicated that a total of 3,964 girls aged 19 and below were pregnant during this time. The pregnancy cases peaked in March, and the trend has been linked to the COVID-19 pandemic, as children were left in the care of their grandparents in the countryside and exposed to sex pests. Athi River is the most affected area, while Kalama has the least number of pregnancies. The Machakos County Children's Officer is calling for concerted efforts to reverse the worrying trend. Healthcare workers are set to benefit from free health insurance coverage to cushion them from the coronavirus. UAP and Old Mutual will provide up to 180 million shillings in insurance. This will include a hospitalization benefit and a life cover in the event of death, where the next of kin will receive 50,000 Kenya shillings. While the insurance industry recorded heavy losses since the last quarter of 2019, the Insurance Regulatory Authority says that taking on the cover will not have a big impact on the sector.
There was a lot of talk in terms of there being exclusions, and they are not going to take care of people who who develop COVID. But I think there was a clarification, and the insurance sector said that they will take care of all policy holders who contracted COVID.
The challenge that has hit us, the shock that has hit us now, is more to do with the revenue. But there's also increased expenditure demand. There are a lot of interventions that needs to be undertaken to support the health sector, but also to cushion the businesses. What do we do with the people who are not working?
Now, border operators and tuk-tuk drivers have been put on the spot for flouting Ministry of Health guidelines on the coronavirus. The industry players have been urged to carry out full registration of all the people involved in the sector, as law enforcement officers raise the alarm over the disregard some of the drivers have towards the guidelines. The Coast Region Traffic Commandant Peter Miner says that those found on the wrong side of the law will be arrested. At the same time, motorists have been urged to report cases of corruption at roadblocks by contacting regional police commanders.
Tafadhali ndugu zangu, tunawahitaji na familia zenu zinawahitaji zaidi. Wakati unahatarisha maisha, ukubuke uko na majukumu za kuchunga hiyo familia yako, na hutawachunga ukiwa mochale ama ukiwa kwa kaburi.
Now, as the effects of the coronavirus continue to be felt across the world, a number of small micro-enterprising businesses are warning that they could be forced to shut down due to a lack of customers. One such business owner, Kelvin Kamotho, who operates a tattoo business in Nairobi's Central Business District, says the effects of the virus are now becoming real. The owner of the microblading studio says that him, just like other young people in business, now want the government to give them access to the billions of shillings that had been set aside for the youth. He says the business, which mostly offers tattoos and eyebrow services, has been on an all-time low. He spoke as a number of companies across the country continue to issue profit warnings, with the latest being the Kenya Power Company, which said the effects of the virus will be harsh.
Hii industry ya beauty ni usanii kivyake, unaelewa? So pia naona hiyo ndo yenye walipea wasanii, si ati wanapea tu wasanii wenye wanaimba muziki. Pia sisi wangetuangalia because sisi ni ma-artist pia. Hii industry yetu inakuwaga poa, si mbaya. Inaweza kufeed, inaweza kufanyia anything you want.
It's 1:15. We take a short break on NTV at 1. Stay with us.
Sonadol Extra imetengenezwa kwa njia spesheli kupambana haraka na maumivu ya kichwa, mwili na hata meno. Sonadol Extra, hakika maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Oya cheki, kuna vile sasa muziki manze, kuna vile inajipa manze, yani na cheki haimaanishi tu tunajibamba, yani very regular.
Kitu ya muhimu kwanza ni kujua hali yako ya status ya HIV.
Kwa hapa hivi tuwapeleke na Rieng, tujue venye manzi tutasaidiana, si kama vijana. Na kwa unaogopa kwenda pale hivi kwa clinic, unaweza pitia pale hivi kwa chemist ya mtaa, uitishe a self test kit na wanauza 500 bob only. Unajitestia tu mtaani, unajua hali yako.
Manze na ukiweza patikana nayo, yani uko positive manze, usiogope. Kuna madawa yani jo, kuna counseling manze, unaweza kula fit yani, alafu unaweza piga bado ma exercises kiasi hivi. Na kama nyewe manze ukiweza patikana yani hauna manze, usiasi tu unaenda kutafuta tena.
Cheki. Ukiweza abstain.
Lakini maji yakizidi unga,
wrap it before you tap it.
La bila gloves haiwezi. Rieng ni kujijua.
Unapoendelea kujikinga kutokana na HIV, tafadhali zingatia taratibu zote za serikali za kujikinga na virusi vya corona.
Afya bora, maisha bora. Jipime, jiinue.
Blueband margarine. New look, same great taste.
Explorers of the night, wale wase wa kuhustle usiku, kustreama movies, music mix diehards, and gaming fanatics. We've heard you. It is now your time to fly your flag high. Do what you love, mpaka che na Telkom. Join Usiku Sako with Telkom night bundles that allow you rule the night at prices you love. Join our tribe, Usiku Sako Squad. Just dial *544# from your Telkom line and select the night bundle of your dreams. You are the legend the night needs.
Welcome back. The county government of Tharaka Nithi says it will soon begin mass testing for coronavirus among the residents. In making the announcement, Governor Muthomi Njuki noted that many residents were not adhering to the Ministry of Health guidelines. Health teams had been dispatched to offer free testing services, but the numbers were rather low. The governor says the next phase will target residential areas, and those testing positive will be isolated and treated at the government's expense. The county government also says that enough staff have been recruited under the Universal Health Coverage Programme to tackle the pandemic.
And the workers, good morning all of you.
Testing kits iko hospitali pale Chuka. Katika hospitali Tharaka Nithi pia kuna kit hapa na pale. Na kuna watu wanajitokeza. Kwa tumenyamaza hapa lakini inaendelea kukula watu tu. Kwa hivyo tunataka ukiambiwa kuja fanywe testing, we know hakuna sheria kusema lazima, lakini tunaomba watu wetu tafadhali jitokeze upimwe. You are better off knowing your status so that you protect your loved ones.
Now, the government has received 2.1 billion shillings in dividend payments for the period ended December 2019 from the Kenya Commercial Bank. The government holds 635 million shares of KCB Group, translating into a 19.76% stake, making it the largest shareholder in the group. The 2.1 billion shillings dividend payment is a 16.7% increase from the dividend payment received by the government for the period ended December 2018. Shareholders of KCB Group received a 1 shilling interim dividend and 2 shillings and 50 cents final dividend for each share held as at the end of 2019. All right, now I&M Holdings and Cooperative Bank have topped bank rankings for the first half of the 2020 financial year. According to a report by Citon Financial Services research team, in the first quarter, Co-op Bank of Kenya Limited improved to position 2 from position 3. The bank says this is mainly due to an improvement in the gross non-performing loans ratio to 10.8% in quarter 1 of 2020 from 11.2% in 2019, in turn improving its franchise value score. The report further highlights that banks reported a decline in the quality of their loan books as a result of customers being unable to pay back loans efficiently due to the pandemic. Now, a section of youth in Murang'a County have come out to support Transport Infrastructure and Housing Cabinet Secretary James Macharia ahead of a planned impeachment. The young people say that Nyali MP Muhammad Ali, who's championing the impeachment motion, is being used by people against the government's plan of a dry port in Naivasha. The youth observed that any effort by the government to operationalize Naivasha container terminal is seen by cartels and drug traffickers as a threat to their business interests, and they will do anything to stop it.
CS Macharia
is one of the working ministers in this country. You know, road networks have been one of Uhuru's legacy. If you go to northern Kenya today, you will see all these red net feeder roads all being tarmacked.
Naivasha container depot ikifanikiwa hawataweza kutoa madawa katika Amerika, Asia kuyapeleka Naivasha.
Scientists are now looking at an already existing drug as a possible treatment for COVID-19. The UK research team has administered a steroid dexamethasone to more than 2,000 severely ill COVID-19 patients. Now, the drug that's normally used to treat a range of allergic reactions as well as rheumatoid arthritis and asthma is an anti-inflammatory that is believed to be the first drug to significantly reduce the risk of death among severe COVID-19 cases.
Doctors in the United Kingdom say that COVID-19 patients who could only breathe with the help of a ventilator have significantly improved after taking the steroid dexamethasone, which is said to have reduced deaths by 1/3 and by 1/5 in other patients receiving oxygen only, according to preliminary results. The trial carried out by the Recovery Research Group that is searching for effective COVID-19 treatments included a control group of 4,000 patients who did not receive the drug. Britain's Health Secretary Matt Hancock says the country's patients would start to receive the drug immediately, with the trial results showing that the trial results are particularly promising, as around 40% of COVID-19 patients who require a ventilator end up dying, often because of the body's uncontrolled inflammatory response to the virus.
We've been stockpiling it since March, so we now have 200,000 courses that are ready to go, and we're working with the NHS so that the NHS standard treatment for COVID-19 will include dexamethasone from this afternoon.
For those receiving the new treatment, the mortality rate dropped to less than 30%. A number of existing drugs have been trialled as a treatment against the novel coronavirus with mixed results. Trials of treatment of the anti-arthritis drug hydroxychloroquine were halted in several countries after a major study in the Lancet Medical Journal suggested it showed no benefit among COVID-19 patients and even increased the risk of death. That study has since been retracted due to inconsistencies in the data, but others have come to the same conclusion.
UK life sciences are leading the world in vaccine development, in the development of treatments, and in immunology. But it's by working together that we've been able to bring this result to bear.
Remdesivir, an antiviral that appears to reduce the length of treatment in some patients, is already being used in Britain, but one study in April showed that it had no significant clinical benefit. In light of the study results, dexamethasone must now be rolled out and accessed by thousands of critically ill patients around the world.
Now, Beijing's airports have cancelled more than 1,200 flights as authorities rush to contain a new coronavirus outbreak linked to a wholesale food market. The city has now reported 137 infections over the last 6 days, with 6 new asymptomatic cases and 3 suspected cases on Wednesday. Well, with fears growing about a second wave of infections in China, schools were closed again and officials closed 11 markets while tens of thousands of people are being tested. And in New Zealand, the military has been ordered to oversee the country's borders. A 24-day run with no new COVID-19 cases was broken on Tuesday when 2 women who arrived from Britain were allowed out of quarantine early without being tested for the virus, even though one had mild symptoms. The women remain in isolation as health officials scrambled to test about 320 people they had contact with. And on the continent, a primary school in the suburbs of Cape Town has installed DIY screens on pupils' desks to protect against the spread of COVID-19. Africa's most industrialized economy has been largely shut down since late March, when the government enforced some of the world's strictest restrictions in an attempt to try and stem the spread of the COVID-19, which has so far infected a huge number in the country. The country is now reopening its economy and children are going back to school, but different organizations are set to return to court with a fresh bid to stop the reopening of schools, saying that over 2,000 students and teachers have contracted the virus since kids returned.
So they can protect us. It's very well because they protect us, the person at the back, so when he coughs, he can't cough exactly towards me, so I can be protected.
The classes is too small and social distancing is a big problem. How are we going to keep the kids safe and the teachers? And then we came up with a solution. I came up with this thought and said, look, I've got a lot of planks at home. I will make you frames.
Perhaps we can learn some lessons. Next up, it's the sports news with Brian.
Thank you so much, Smriti. And we start from England, where the Premier League makes its eagerly anticipated return tonight after 100 days in lockdown, with Manchester City's clash against Arsenal taking centre stage at the start of a frenetic dash to finish the season. While the coronavirus pandemic means the Premier League will look very different from 3 months ago, football-starved fans will be able to feast on 92 games crammed into less than 6 weeks. There is still much to decide over the rest of the season, with Liverpool on the brink of their first English title for 30 years. Champions League places up for grabs and a heated relegation battle going down to the wire. Relegation-threatened Aston Villa get the ball rolling with their home game against European hopefuls Sheffield United. A City defeat will